Oh man, this is big, and almost no one in the West is talking about it. The corporate corrupt media are ignoring it, of course. What China, Russia, and North Korea have done will change everything in the biggest way possible. Their trade and economic expansion has the West crapping its pants, which could push us into World War III. Now, many, myself included, believe we're already in World War III, but just wait until the real shooting starts, because that's honestly how Washington sees the world. Rather than spending trillions of dollars on our own infrastructure in the United States, building out our own Belt and Road Initiative with new railroads and infrastructure and shipping lanes and all of that, no, we'd rather enrich the military-industrial complex, give that money to weapons manufacturers like Raytheon and Northrop Grumman, enrich those people. Meanwhile, there's people sleeping on the streets of the United States.
The number of homeless people on the streets and in shelters across the U.S. increased significantly this year.
Roads and bridges are a total disaster. Crime is at an all-time high. So apparently America is fine. We'd rather enrich these defense contractors. Well, this week we just got our clearest sign yet that the West is getting desperate. And desperate people do very dangerous things. The United States Air Force Secretary General saying China is prepping for war against the United States. Imagine that. Why would China be preparing for war against the United States? And the warmongers on TV are saying that China is the real threat. We better prepare for war now.
He was making certain his troops understood that war could be around the corner. We have all said the very same thing, that China does have a military advantage right now. More ships, more planes, and certainly more missiles. That is where the general's coming from, because he knows that we're vulnerable and we have got to fix it.
Yeah, the trillions of dollars we spend on our military each year simply isn't enough. We need more weapons. And right on cue, NATO last week launched its biggest military exercises yet to show China and Russia that we mean business. The Pentagon announcing they're also clearing out jungles to build brand new military bases near China. Wait a second, where are the crying liberal environmentalists now? Clearing a forest to build yet another military base? If you're keeping score, the United States now has over 960 military bases around the world. And look how many are sitting in China's backyard. The United States in this interview says they're also clearing off older World War II runways in the Pacific in preparation for war. So why would China be prepping for war? I can't wrap my head around it. Of course you know the answer. Well, the timing of these NATO announcements was perfect as North Korean leader Kim Jong-un traveled by armored train to Moscow, meeting with Putin, agreeing to expand their trade and military partnerships. He toured military facilities, looked at aircraft facilities. He told Putin that he will help fight against NATO's imperialism. This terrified NATO, so much so that NATO-backed Ukraine added Kim Jong-un to their kill list. Yes, a list that NATO keeps for who they'll kill next. Again, desperate people do desperate things. The RAND Corporation, a Washington think tank, wants the United States to go to war with Russia and China in the worst possible way. They just published a laughable new report on North Korea, Russia, and China's imperialist partnership, because they're invading all sorts of countries together, aren't they? Perhaps they forgot the part where the United States now has 960 military bases, dozens right on the back doorstep of China and Russia. But imperialism? Perhaps they should look in the mirror a little bit. The report outlines 3 solutions to deal with Russia and China, the Russia and China threat. The 3 solutions are all military-based. It's laughable. Number 1, they say, is to build a better outline on how we go to war. How exactly do we carry out modern war? Number 2, they say, is to build out massive new weapons and fighting capabilities to use against Russia, China, and North Korea. So weapons. And then number 3 is to build out massive new military forces. So number 1, identify how we go to war. Number 2, build out new weapons. Number 3, build out new forces. All of it leads to war. No peace talks, nothing about building our own economy back at home, helping Americans. No, none of that. Though, of course not. They're terrified of what Russia and China are doing. This week, Russia and China announced a massive new cross-border partnership. You could have heard Biden freaking out in Washington. This is a massive new logistics hub between China and Russia. It'll basically become a joint China-Russia city for oil and natural gas and minerals to be shuttled between the two countries. An amazing partnership. And new numbers out this week show Russia's economy expanding. China, Russia, the BRICS nations have agreed now to use gold as their main backing for their new international currency to settle transactions. They just decided this a few weeks ago. And of course, we knew this was coming. That's why China, Russia, India, all buying up as much gold as possible. Remember, we're told in the West that Russia's economy is collapsing thanks to sanctions. The opposite is true, however. The West's failed sanctions against these countries have only hurt Europe and the United States. This morning, Europe on pace for the euro to continue its plummet in number of losing sessions. Bad news all across Europe as businesses are closing and layoffs continue to rise. And Bloomberg reports this morning that Russian businesses are taking billions out of the European economies and repatriating that money back into Russia, reinvesting those billions back into Russia instead of Europe. And China is supposed to be collapsing thanks to Western sanctions. So is that true? Well, this, according to new data this week, the opposite is happening. China has launched the most advanced semiconductor radar microchip in the world. How did they do that? Under sanctions, by the way. They weren't supposed to be able to do any of that. Guess they found a loophole. And China's economy saw massive growth, according to new data this week. Investors rallied, started buying a lot of Chinese stocks on this news out of China. The U.S., meanwhile, this week saw inflation numbers coming in super hot, and we could see double-digit mortgage rates very soon. Yes, I said double-digit mortgages. Better lock in those mortgages now, especially if you're planning to buy some investment real estate. The U.S. is in real trouble thanks to these Russian sanctions. Now, I spoke to economist and gold expert Peter Schiff this week, who says the Biden administration is lying to you about inflation.
When Joe Biden is out there talking about how inflation is coming down, first of all, he needs to accept some responsibility for how much it went up. So this myth that the inflation problem is over is wrong. It's just getting started.
And of course, now the only way out for them is war. That's exactly what this all points to. Tucker Carlson points out this hot war with Russia is coming, and it's going to happen in the next few months.
What are they going to do? They're going to go to war with Russia is what they're going to do. There will be a hot war between the United States and Russia in the next year. And
really?
Yes, of course. They want it anyway.
And I just want you to remember that the threat here isn't military. The threat is economic. It's the decline of the U.S. dollar. They will try to tell you that China is about to invade or that Russia is about to invade the rest of Europe. It's a lie, of course. The full-scale pullback away from the U.S. dollar as a reserve currency is at the heart of this story. They are lying when they tell you that Russia and China are ready to attack the United States. China is not building military bases in Canada or Mexico. China doesn't have a lot of precious minerals and petroleum, so they need this partnership with Russia. Russia doesn't have semiconductors and electronics, so they need those from China. It's a great symbiotic relationship that has grown by over 40% since the start of the war. And Biden created this. He brought Russia and China together, Saudi Arabia, North Korea. They're all closer thanks to the President of the United States. Now, while at the same time, the U.S. announced they are now $31 trillion in debt. $7 trillion of that is to China. So who has the upper hand right now? This is an economic war that will have people firing real weapons in a true hot war, and we need to pay attention to what's happening right before our eyes and protect our families. That's the news update part of today's video. Now I want to tell you about today's sponsor, which is tied directly to this demand for gold right now. This company is called West Red Lake Gold. And this, in my opinion, is the most important gold company I've ever featured here on this show. And I don't say that lightly. I'm going to show you why I believe this stock could explode in the next few months. Now, if you're an investor, you need to pay attention to what I'm about to show you. This upside on this stock is significant. Now, let me set the stage before I give you the details about why I'm so bullish on this company. First, the single largest shareholder of this company is a man by the name of Frank Giustra. Now, Frank Giustra is a billionaire from the mining business. He knows exactly what he's doing and how to invest in fantastic mining stocks. Now, just a few weeks ago, in August, he bought another $2 million of stock in this company. He now owns over 12% of this company. Again, he's the largest shareholder. And then just a few days ago, while I was preparing for this video, he bought another $400,000 of this stock. Now, get this. In August, when he bought the stock, it was trading at 55 cents a share. Right now, as of this recording, it's trading at 45 cents a share. That means that he paid 10 cents more per share than you or I would if we bought it today. And he's not selling it. In fact, he just bought $400,000 more of the company. Okay, so that's one big data point, just to understand how important Frank is to this story. Now, the CEO of the company also just bought $100,000 of the company, 55 cents a share. He paid the same price for it. So they both bought in August for higher than it's trading at right now. And this is all public information. You can read exactly how much they bought. It's all public. Now, you might be asking, why are they so excited about this company? Well, let's get into it. This company is in Red Lake. It's in Ontario, Canada. They found gold there 100 years ago. In fact, the airport in Red Lake, because of the gold discovery, became the busiest airport in the world. That's right. Let me repeat that. This little airport in Red Lake became the busiest airport in the world. I know it seems hard to believe. You're like, what about Heathrow? What about Chicago? No. This airport. Fortunes have been made in this small area. Now, I want to show you how you can make a fortune on this company. This is very important. Pay attention if you want to make some money here. Now, the project they own is called the Madsen Gold Project. This isn't some small mine. They've built an entire city on a pre-existing mine that was laying dormant for decades. So here's what happened. That's why this is such a great business story. And this is why it pays to dive into the details and learn. This is how you can make a lot of money, by actually getting into the details of a company like this. Now, a company called Pure Gold, this is another company, they bought this mine a few years ago. Pure Gold was $1 billion company, $1 billion market cap. They started building out a huge mining operation on this site, building equipment, putting in infrastructure, the whole thing. Okay, they did it during the pandemic, but they screwed up the construction. They rushed the job. It was poorly managed. They built it on the wrong site. They really screwed this up.
An estimated 200 workers were impacted by the sudden shutdown of the Pure Gold mine in Red Lake, according to Mayor Fred Mota. Pure Gold announced the immediate suspension of operations at their Red Lake mine on the day of the municipal election, citing significant financial difficulties.
It was poorly managed. It was a mess. The creditor then started looking for a new buyer. So that's where Frank Giustra comes into the story, because he has an amazing track record of advising companies. He's able to identify, hey, this company just was a management problem, but there's a lot of potential underneath the ground here. They screwed up. You can swoop in and buy this company and do it the right way. And that's where the company I'm telling you about comes in, West Red Lake Gold. They take over this project with Frank's help. So Frank's advising them on it, and they put together an amazing board of experienced miners. And the company has a very small market cap, $82 million. Okay, very, very small, much less than the billion-dollar company that just screwed things up. Just so you understand, they bought this project, which was valued at $1 billion. That company didn't know what they were doing. They made big mistakes. And this mine, the whole project had kind of a stigma on it, kind of like a stink about it. You know, like, oh, we don't want to touch that. But Frank's a smart guy, and he understands the potential of this area and this mine. So where other people might say, hey, other people's trash is another person's treasure, that's exactly what happened here. So West Red Lake Gold swoops in, buys the mine, which is now valued at 90% below the $1 billion valuation of the previous owner. They swoop in and they buy this mine, they stabilize it, and I'm going to show you why I'm so bullish on this company. This is the good stuff. This is why I bought a lot of shares of this company. I'm going to show you why this company is worth a heck of a lot more than $82 million, in my opinion. You'll see why I think this is the best gold company with the biggest upside potential that I've ever shown you on this show. And by the way, analysts don't even know about this company yet. I'm showing you this before any major news outlets cover it. I couldn't find any major news outlet coverage of this. I didn't see it on CNBC. I didn't see it on Bloomberg. By the way, back when I started researching this company, as a side note, their market cap was under 70 million. Now it's at 82 million. So in the amount of time that I've been diving deep into their numbers, they've already increased in value tremendously. So let's get into it. This project, the Madsen project that they took over, has $350 million worth of equipment and infrastructure already in the project. Look at this. It's like they bought a foreclosed home that had all sorts of new upgrades, like a brand new kitchen, brand new bathroom, but the previous owners couldn't afford it and screwed it up. So look at all of this equipment, look at all of this infrastructure. So if they never even bring this mine into production, it's already worth $350 million. Now let me underline that. So even if they never bring the mine into production and they sell off the company for $350 million, you would have already 5 times your money, 5x your money. And if you wanted to build the same infrastructure on the mine right now using today's equipment at today's prices, it would take about 4 years to build and about $700 million to build out the same infrastructure with the same equipment because of inflation and the amount of prices for cost of these equipment today. And then start pulling the gold out of the ground. So they got an amazing deal on this, on the property, the project, and the equipment that's already on the property. this stock could go up by 7 to 14 times its current value. And that would happen, by the way, if this company goes from 82 million market cap to a $500 million, like these other gold producers with similar structures in place. Those other companies are valued at $500 million up to $1 billion. So this company is dramatically undervalued, in my opinion. And I've shown you mathematically how that's possible. Now, to put a bow on this, the way that this company could explode in value is thanks to the management of the company. They have an unbelievable track record of doing this over and over again. The CEO, Shane Williams, has done this multiple times before with other companies, fixing what other companies screwed up, stabilizing mines so it's not going further into debt, bringing great gold projects to the market. In fact, one company labeled one of the main gold projects that Shane brought to market as their best producing gold project they've ever had. So he swoops in, sees what other companies have screwed up, then stabilizes the mine so it doesn't go further into debt. Then they drill to identify the best possible gold veins to start drilling. And then they start fully operating the mine, pulling gold out of the ground. And at each stage, that's how the market cap increases, by the way. These are all milestones for the company. And the company has 2.5-year plan in place for this. So I'm investing here for a long play. This is not a get-rich-quick kind of overnight stock. In my opinion, this is a long-term play. Stabilizing the mine, then identifying potential new gold spots on this property, then doing the actual excavation and actual removal of the gold. Each of those levels is how this thing can explode. Again, this stock right now, as of this recording, is trading at a really cheap price. So even if you just bought a few shares, you're not breaking the bank on this at pennies on the dollar. I bought a lot of shares of this company, and I personally plan to hold it for a good amount of time as they hit each of these milestones. I'll have links below to their website so you can go and do your own due diligence on this, read everything that I just told you about so you can confirm it. Also dive deep into your own data, make your own decisions about it. Again, here is the stock ticker on your screen. Write this down, and we will see you next time, everyone.